Welcome to the Rockish George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne, and this is episode 123. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button on the platform that you're listening to. You can also check out my work at the loudest.com on the planet, knac.com, for exclusive interviews, live show coverage, album reviews, and more, not available on the Rockish George platforms. My guest for this episode is guitarist KEVIN Kelly of the Chicago-based hard rock act SPEEDFREAK. Their debut album dropped on April 15th called FAST LANE LIVIN. It's independently released. Fantastic album. It hits you right in the teeth from the get-go, and it doesn't let up right till the end. And I'm going to have KEVIN Kelly of SPEEDFREAK tell you more about it. If I knew absolutely nothing about SPEEDFREAK, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Hard rock. Somewhere in the hard rock, heavy metal spectrum. Yeah. Somebody said once we sound kind of like John Corabi era Motley Crue, which is a very weirdly specific comparison, but it's probably not too far off actually. So that's where I'd start. Yeah.
When and how did the band originally form?
The singer Tom and I, we've been jamming together since high school, right? So forever ago. But where this is, and then our bass player, somebody we grew up with, also went to high school with. We kind of went through a couple of different drummers, and then, our drummer now, Dave, joined maybe 5-6 years ago, something like that. So,
okay, what inspired the band name SPEEDFREAK?
Oh, we're named after a Motorhead song.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Pretty straightforward, big motor. Yeah, nothing, no crazy story or anything.
One of the songs that you've released from the album is Doomsday Devices. It's sort of about living in the moment and taking advantage of life while we're here. You got a cool music video that goes along with it, directed by Zane Rarick. Yep. How did that video all come together?
So, yeah, so we wrote that song, and then when we were putting the record together, Zane had, he's a friend of ours. He does videos for some other, Chicago bands. He's involved in that scene. So he got a hold of that song, and he kind of thought it'd be funny to, because it's Doomsday Devices, he thought it'd be funny to talk about kind of actual nuclear bombs and stuff. And then that, I guess, evolved into the idea with those 50s infomercials. Yeah, but that was really kind of all him. He came to us with the idea. We thought it was hilarious. So we went ahead and did it.
And he's winning awards for this video, right?
He is. Yeah, he's won way more awards than we're ever going to win for that song. So I'm glad.
Are you planning any more singles or videos from the album?
Not as such, not right now. We have a video out for Doomsday, and we had a video out for Up the Ante for another track on that album. I don't know that we're going to be doing another single. There might be some stuff happening as a video in sometime in the next few months, but we'll see.
And as I mentioned before, this is an independent release. You guys are pretty much doing everything yourself. Had you tried shopping this with other labels, or did you feel like you wanted that control?
We had put some feelers out, but because this is kind of our first time doing it, and it's really as our debut record, we kind of wanted to do it ourselves and get a feel for how it was going to work. And then when we do the next record, we can decide, if this is something that maybe it's worth trying to shop to more labels, or, it was never really a serious conversation. We were kind of trying to do it ourselves. We put the record out.
I noticed that you have a digital release, a CD release that's limited, and a cassette release that's limited. Do you see yourself going down the vinyl road?
Yes. We actually wanted to do vinyl, and, we recorded this album in 2019. And then as we were getting ready to do the release, the pandemic happened. And then during that pandemic, vinyl, just for whatever the reason, is becoming harder and harder to source. And so the wait times to get a run of vinyl pressed were absurd. So we were like, well, you know what, just to start, we'll do cassettes and CDs and digital. I would definitely keep an eye out for vinyl sometime in the next, in the near-ish future. It's definitely coming.
You get some pretty cool artwork with the skeletons riding on the motorcycles. Is that something that one of the band members designed, or did you hire an outside artist?
We hired Casey Sass, who's an Austin tattoo artist. He's a friend of the drummers. And so, we're up in Chicago. He used to be up here, but he's down in Austin now. He's got a very American traditional tattooing style. So we sent him the record, asked what he could come up with. I think that was the first thing he sent us. We're like, bro, this is awesome. So that's where that came from.
SpeedFreak is jumping on a pretty big tour with the Texas Hippie Coalition at the end of the summer.
Yep.
You guys have played in the past, correct?
We played, I mean, yes, we opened for them maybe once or twice when they came through Chicago, but we've never been out on the road with them. That's a band that we've been fans of for a very, very long time. So when that opportunity kind of presented itself, we were super stoked to jump on and do that.
When are you jumping in on the tour? Because I noticed there's some rotating support acts.
We're going to jump on in August. We're going to start, I think we're going to catch them in Montana, and then we're going to go all the way to the West Coast and then back with them.
You just had like a short little run locally in Chicago back in March. Was this pretty much the debut of the material from the new album?
Not really, actually. So like I said, we had recorded that album quite a while ago. So we have been playing those songs live. I would say the first time we played like the whole record was we did a Forever Death Fest in Chicago in December of 2021, maybe. We played a couple tracks from it, and then we did our official album release, in April. So we have been playing the material for a while, yeah.
Are you planning local shows before heading out with Texas Hippie Coalition?
I think so. That's 4 or 5 months away still. We're definitely going to try and do some stuff locally over the summer. I mean, Chicago is such a great music city. I'm sure we'll jump on some gigs someplace.
You have a couple of quotes from DEE SNIDER praising your band. It says you guys have great songs and you're fucking fearless. So how did you end up obtaining these quotes from DEE?
Yeah, so we, in 2018, we entered a Battle of the Bands contest. We were the finalist along with this other band. So DEE SNIDER was one of the judges. And so we got to perform for him and hear his critique. And unfortunately, we did not win. The other band won. But man, to be on stage and have DEE SNIDER, complimenting your band is pretty cool. That was pretty exciting.
You play a Gibson Flying V on stage, I've noticed. Is this a guitar that you've always played, or did you eventually get turned on to it as you developed as a guitar player?
Yeah, so the first guitar that I ever really, besides like whatever cheap Walmart guitar that I learned on, my first love as a musician was AC/DC. And so I definitely, I couldn't wait. I begged and begged and begged my parents for a Gibson SG like Angus Young, and I finally saved up enough allowance and mowed enough lawns or whatever to get one. And I still have the SG. It's hanging right here. I'm looking at it. But yeah, and then as I got older, I started kind of testing out other guitars. And then the V was just something, obviously Flying Vs look cool, right? James Hetfield had one. That was always one I was interested in. And then as soon as I found one, I think I forgot who I bought it from. A friend of mine sold it to me, and he had bought it from another guitar player, in Chicago. And so that kind of just became my main guitar. I fell in love with it. So I have 2 Vs now, but I have, a bajillion guitars that I play. My girlfriend drives her crazy because I'm always bringing home new guitars. And
what kind of rig are you playing through?
I got a Marshall JCM 2000 half stack. That's the main rig. That's everything you hear on the record is that head, that cab. That's the sound. Gibson, Marshall. That's it.
Is SpeedFreak the only band that you contribute to? A lot of guys today playing in multiple bands.
Yeah, right now it's just SpeedFreak. Right now it's just SpeedFreak. The bass player and myself, we had a bluegrass thing going on for a while, and that folded up a couple of years ago. And that was kind of just, it was fun to play some different stuff, but SpeedFreak's always the first love, so.
Now, you mentioned a couple times that the music on this album's been around for a little bit. Are you working on new music?
We are, yes.
Is it going to be more of a full album? Well, this is a full album, kind of on the borderline of EP, but the next one going to be a little longer.
So when we went into the studio to do this one, we recorded, I think there were a handful of songs that we laid down, and we just thought, these aren't good enough, right? Or they don't fit with the rest of them. So I don't want to promise anybody length. I think we'll probably go in and record more songs than we end up putting on, whether the next record if that's going to be an EP or an album, or because we're not going to put out crap that we don't like or aren't proud of, right? So
Is the Chicago local music scene very competitive? I mean, is it difficult to kind of get original music in the area? I know where I'm from, a lot of cover bands playing in bars around town.
There's a lot of cover bands here too. I think that's, people like what they like, right? So cover bands are always a thing. Tribute bands, if they take themselves a little bit more seriously. But if you'd asked me 5 or 10 years ago, whatever, I would have said that yes, the Chicago music scene is very competitive. And as I get a little older, I'm like, you know what, that's really not true. We really have a great scene of people that support each other. There's lots of cool bars that'll book bands like, SpeedFreak or punk bands or metal bands or whatever. And so maybe it is hard to get noticed. There are a lot of bands, but I wouldn't say that it's competitive. I would say it's more so, it's just very saturated.
Did you start out in a cover band yourself?
No, not really. I started off though playing covers, right? Like everybody does. I think SpeedFreak's first show ever, we were in high school and we played 4 songs. And I think maybe 1 or 2 of them were covers. I mean, it's terrible. But I've never professionally played in a cover band. I know our drummer plays in Black Angus, which is an AC/DC tribute band here in Chicago, but I've never played in a cover band, not officially.
I found this album by a band named SpeedFreak called Loaded in 2012. That's not your SpeedFreak, right?
That is our SpeedFreak. And forgot about that record. Listen, so in 2012, that's Tom and I are the only, no, I guess Steve's on that record too. Yeah, the truth is that really kind of isn't what we do anymore. It was so long ago, such a different band, and we never really, I guess that is still one of our records. I don't think we play any of the material from it. It's kind of out of circulation for a reason. That was our first kind of foray into releasing stuff, but man, that was a long time ago.
Kind of a long trip to go from that album to your latest album, 10 years.
Yeah. And, back then that was kind of the tail end of when we were serious. I shouldn't say serious. I don't want to say this. We were very, very young when we did that. And in the time since, we've changed band members and the band has become more or less of a priority for people. And, I would say there was a period of time where we weren't really picking it up. You weren't really playing a lot. And so it feels like it was a different band. Does that make sense? I mean, yeah. And that was, back then, I think we just put it out. That would have been the MySpace days or something. There was no press for it. We weren't even, some of us might not even have been old enough to get into the bars that we're playing at now, let alone, do any kind of touring or anything for it. So.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you today, Kevin. You've come a long way since the 2012 album. The latest SpeedFreak album is Fast Lane Livin'. Fantastic album. I enjoyed every song. It starts out heavy and it just keeps rolling to the end.
Thanks, George. Good to talk to you.
Once again, I want to thank KEVIN Kelly of SpeedFreak for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, Fast Lane Livin', out now. Head over to your favorite music streaming app. Check out the album. If you like what you hear, head over to their Bandcamp page and buy a physical copy. Support the artist. For all things SpeedFreak, head over to their Facebook page /SpeedFreakRock. I also want to thank Barbara Papa George of Pavement Entertainment for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. I'll see you again soon.